Hello! Thank you for joining me for another Geggie's Storytime edition. Today I thought I would read a story from my good friend Sloane, who loves a certain little pig named Peppa Pig. And do you know what? I don't know Peppa Pig yet, so this is my first time getting to know her and her friends and her stories, so it's a fun adventure for me. Now, Sloane, you have this book at home now called 5-Minute Peppa Stories. So if you want, go grab it and put it on your lap and we'll turn the pages together. Should we set our timer and see if it takes us 5 minutes to read the story? Let's start with one called Peppa Pig, the Tooth Fairy. Oh, who is the Tooth Fairy? And has she come to visit you? And is the Tooth Fairy in this story going to be a pig? Will we find out? I have so many questions. Okay, Tooth Fairy. Once upon a time, there was a clever little pig named Peppa. She was very proud of her teeth. That reminds me of a little girl who went to the dentist and got, was it silver teeth? And she loved to show them off at her birthday parties and friends' houses. I forgot to tell you, this story started on page 4. Okay, so we've got Peppa who's proud of her teeth. Peppa and her brother, George, knew how to take care of their teeth. They brushed them every morning and every evening. Oh, brush, 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 brush. How do you brush your teeth? Does Mommy and Daddy still help you? You brush them up and down? Do you brush them side to side? Do you brush them in little circly waves? Peppa and George loved playing dentist. Peppa would pretend to be the dentist and George would be her assistant. George's toy dinosaur was the patient. That's fun. You could play dentist with Ruby and get a little stuffy to pretend to be the patient. That might be a fun idea. Oh, what lovely clean teeth you have, Mr. Dinosaur. Peppa smiled. Grr, said George. Look at them playing in their room. They have a bunk bed, like Shay and Kai. One day, after playing their dentist game, Peppa and George were eating their dinner. Suddenly, something fell onto Peppa's plate. Oh, look at them sitting so nicely. What do you think? What do you think they're eating? Ooh, I think they're eating spaghetti. Clatter, clatter! Oh, what fell onto the plate? It made Peppa jump. What's that? She asked. That's a tooth, Daddy Pig laughed. But where is it from? Asked Peppa. Oh my gosh, look at Peppa's face. Yikes! Where is that tooth from that went clatter, clatter on her plate? Where did it come from? Do you see where it came from? Ooh, I see a little hole in her mouth. I think it came from Peppa's mouth. Why don't you look in the mirror? Said Mummy Pig. Are you following along? Did you turn the pages, Sloane? You got it? Why don't you look in the mirror? Said Mummy Pig. Peppa looked. She had a big gap in her teeth. Oh no, Peppa cried. Do we need to go see Dr. Elephant? No, said Mummy Pig. It's just a baby tooth. It's meant to fall out. And look, she's looking in the mirror. She's like, yikes, what's happening? I remember losing a tooth one time while I was eating corn on the cob. And I took a bite and my tooth fell right out. And I ran to the bathroom and looked in the mirror and said, help, what's going on? Do I need to see Dr. Elephant? Okay, ready to turn the page? Now we're on page number, whoopsies, 12. Okay. A baby tooth? What's that? asked Peppa. A baby tooth is a tooth that falls out when you're young, explained Mummy Pig. A new one will grow in its place. What should I do with my baby tooth? asked Peppa. Do you see her thinking? Those are the little thought bubbles. If you place it under your pillow, the tooth fairy will come. She will take your tooth and leave you a shiny new coin, said Mummy Pig. Look, Peppa Pig's tooth fairy is a little pig tooth fairy. She looks kind of happy about that idea. Okay, turn the page. That evening, while Peppa watched television with her family, she kept thinking about the tooth fairy. When I grow up, I want to be a tooth fairy, said Peppa. Daddy Pig chuckled. What about you, George? asked Daddy. George pointed at his dinosaur. Dinosaur, he growled. Can George talk yet? Not so much, but we know what he's trying to say. I think George wants to be a dinosaur when he grows up. Turn the page. Come on, George, shouted Peppa. We don't want to miss the tooth fairy. I guess it's bedtime. They both ran up the stairs to get ready for bed. Whoa. What are you doing, Peppa? asked Daddy Pig. Peppa was carefully brushing her baby tooth. She was brushing the tooth that fell out. I want it to be nice and clean for the tooth fairy, said Peppa. That's funny. Ready to turn the page? Peppa tucked the tooth under her pillow. Are you sure the tooth fairy will be able to find it? She asked. I promise, said Mummy Pig. Just you wait and see. Good night, Peppa and George. Good night, Mummy. Good night, Daddy. Look at their beautiful room, and they have pictures that they've drawn up on their wall, like you have at home too. Wow, I think Peppa's excited to have the tooth fairy. Look, she even drew a picture of it on her wall. Have you lost a tooth yet? Has the tooth fairy come to your house? Were you excited about it? We could remember this story the next time we lose a tooth and maybe even read it. Okay, page turned. Shh, shh, shh. George is snoring. Oh, and look at Peppa. She's got her hands on her hips. Is she asleep? Isn't it bedtime? What's happening? I'm going to wait up all night for the tooth fairy, Peppa said. George, let's not go to sleep. George smiled and nodded. Yeah, Peppa waited and waited. Shh, shh. George is fast asleep. She could hear something. Is that the tooth fairy? Peppa wondered. George, she whispered, did you hear that? Can you see the tooth fairy? She climbed down to look at George. He was fast asleep, and it was him that was making that noise. She's so excited. Have you ever been so excited that you just can't fall asleep? Whoa. I am much better at staying awake than George, Peppa sighed. She settled back into her bed. After a while, her eyes started to close. She quickly opened them again. I'm going to stay awake and see that tooth fairy, Peppa said to herself firmly. But she also fell asleep. I've tried to stay awake sometimes, and if I'm too tired, I just fall right asleep no matter how much I try to stay awake. Tinkle, tinkle. She hears a little something. What was that? Look inside the window. Turn the page. It was the tooth fairy. "Hello, Peppa," she whispered. "Would you like a coin in exchange for your tooth?" The tooth fairy gently took Peppa's tooth out from under the pillow and put a shiny coin in its place. "What a lovely clean tooth," the fairy said. "Thank you very much." Flutter, 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 and off she went. And that's all the tooth fairy does. Just a gentle little fairy, kind of like Tinkerbell, who flies in, takes it, and goes. Has a little job. Turn the page. The next morning, Peppa found the shiny coin under her pillow. "Mummy, the tooth fairy did come after all," she shouted, jumping up and down. She was excited. "Oh, I wish I had seen the tooth fairy," Peppa sighed. "Next time, I'm definitely going to stay awake all night." The end. Do you think she'll be able to stay awake, or do you think she'll fall right asleep? I have a feeling she might get tired. Thanks for joining me, sweetie. I love you, and I'll see you next time. Mwah.